makes the world go round, writes the poet, and certainly romantic love drives many aspects of culture around the world. Marriage is another matter. In the United States, romantic love is considered to be central to marriage. But in anthropological terms, love is a private matter, whereas marriage is intricately bound up in other social institutions. Marriage assigns sexual rights, but these are defined in the context of many important social relationships.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Marriage is a social contract, and its customs reflect the economic needs of the group. Among the Mbuti Pygmies of the Ituri forest in Zaire, Africa, marriage and family customs help to preserve the foraging way of life they have followed for thousands of years. Marriage sets up economic obligations that extend far beyond the individuals being married. That's why, in many societies, marriages are arranged. Among the Mbuti, marriages are arranged while the bride and groom are still young. The parents of a 10-year-old boy and an 8.5-year-old girl have decided the two will marry. The Mbuti follow rules of exogamy, which means they must marry outside the group or community. Exogamy establishes alliances between groups that provide mutual access to foraging territories. The bride will live with her husband's family in his village. Orthodox Jews, like most groups, are exogamous in the sense that people must marry outside their own family. However, they follow the rules of endogamy, in marriage, for the group as a whole. Exogamy creates alliances. Endogamy underscores the unity of the group and helps conserve its traditions and wealth. This young man and woman of Brooklyn, New York, were encouraged to choose a spouse from among their fellow Orthodox Jews. The practice of endogamy helps them ensure the continuity of family and group customs. Marriage also establishes economic contracts that support traditional ways of life. The Turkana of northern Kenya are pastoralists, and prosperity in their economy depends upon having many animals. Keeping cattle, goats, and camels requires a great deal of work. Migrating from place to place, building temporary homes, finding water holes and feeding grounds, caring for the animals. Women do much of the work. So if a man is to become wealthy and keep large numbers of animals, he must have more than one wife. Among the Turkana, polygamy allows a man to enhance his social status by controlling the labor and fertility of more than one wife. Because a wife is an important part of the economy, The Turkana, like many other societies, require bride price. Paying bride price is a custom in which the groom gives valuable animals or other goods to the bride's family to compensate them for the loss of her labor and to prove that he is a man of social standing. The bride price also compensates her family for loss of her fertility, since her children will be members of her husband's family, not her own. In addition, the bride price helps to emphasize and reinforce the alliance between kin groups. Kongu has decided to marry his friend Lorang's daughter. However, his other wives had to agree to the marriage, since it affects their wealth and welfare also, and because they will have to contribute animals to the bride price. Negotiating the bride price is both an opportunity to demonstrate one's oratorical skills and to shape future relations between the two families. Members of both families want to make sure their rights are recognized. Eventually the negotiations are settled, and the marriage ceremony begins with the killing of the wedding ox and the blessing of the bride. She's expected to show sadness because she is leaving her family and the carefree days of girlhood to take on the duties of a wife. One of her responsibilities is to bear children for her husband's kin group. Marriage establishes the social identity of the children. The Turkana are patrilineal, a system of kinship in which descent is traced through the male line. The wife's family will have no claim to her children, and her children will be members of her husband's kin group. As the bride sets off with her new husband and his 4 other wives, her relatives advise her not to look back longingly on the family she has left behind. The Asante are matrilineal, which means children belong to their mother's kin group. Asante women live in their husband's village. They also work hard in the marketplace, selling fruits and vegetables to support their children. Because co-wives may be competitors, Asante women often resist their husband's desire to take a new wife.
Woman, who so far bar, or punk and pattern yesterday do me answer. Now, what was a more of a mound beer, poor nine. It is Amelano, or Patame poor nine.
Look as a beer, you wore as I if you were, I can move, say.
Say, I can now. Oh, one of the Yasha. They should be now what you now a crowd say, or Bocona Yeri.
Uba, the plantain queen mother, explains that a woman's attitude toward her co-wives depends on her feelings toward her husband.
So I am a man and say, yeah. I am not to warm Miss Mangata when I felt what I had. So, Cobra de Baman has written so. That's also come.
And you can't let you say, why we?
How can I get it? What I saw you back at music and away. The Amiam Penamam. Some macro. Oh, American, the mayor, the Vienna, I may. Yammy bomb you. The whole gun I was so be a go down after much. Me boom fiasem. So I saw 2 hours and Bano, and me prism and then Bano and Bano. So, when you have a map, you are how one ekunum Arabia and Power. Ah, a bit of me, them Famo. A baby, William J. Ya, woke up Fabiana, wow, one Abaco, wow, about Arabian Abaco. And it's all Ginia Madian Carbaco. And then come down and come to super. I did. But from India, so there be any moon. That's what be baby ever cut. So I didn't know Baba yet. Eh? As some parents, so yes, I'm
Peppa, no more a true can be so one month. As a chance of baby H than your nine, say, oh, Beckham. If it is a dear, you will kind no Tnasian, sir. What bro, why you here? When you be at sir. Now, Coffee Beckham, who there were no one young or yabium. A mubachamian, a famba cry for Beckham, then a neat. Ayania, so on. No mom said, "O Beman, who to Trianoa, who was here, my brother, and to walk of Fabia become one with the Yamias. No, all my woman, do my Anian son.
Memo, I am in many home. If we say, Miss Moon say, Yamamanum, or my name you or more warrior. A idea, Cecilia me feel say. Mema no ni mani nyina say yen ye gyina breso omo nyina akọ school de yen ye pese e be ware omo no omo so ani abie omo hu se na area sete nti min ti ase de nti e wo se be ma be fa me no kofa oba foforo ka ho if we say e be ma enioma pia enkoso yi nti me de mani nje sa ware no ho.
All over the world, marriage customs are changing. The Mien are horticulturalists who once lived in the highlands of Laos. During the Vietnam War, they were hired by the U.S. military to help fight a guerrilla war. After the war, these Mien and many other people of Laos were forced to flee their homes to avoid retaliation by the new communist government. They lived in refugee camps in Thailand, and eventually many came to North America. Fay Fin is the first Mien bride in the United States to be married in a big traditional wedding. The ceremony lasts 3 days and nights.
I didn't know they would really have the big wedding. I thought they were kidding. My cousin told me they have the big wedding for you. But I thought this country is really different from my country. It does not have the banana tree, or the big house, or the big stove. I didn't think they could do it. I think they are kidding.
Fay Fin's wedding requires a large financial investment by both families. The elaborate headdress worn by the bride reflects both the social position of the families and the importance of the bride.
In Laos, a woman would be very proud to wear the headdress. She knows this will only happen once in her life, and it will make her famous. People will say she is so good that they had the big ceremony for her. Now young women are getting lazy, and they have lost their endurance for putting up with a heavy turban. That's why Fei Fin is feeling unhappy at the moment. In my day, I didn't suffer at all. I was used to it.
After they put the headdress on my head, I couldn't sleep. I just tried to get comfortable in the chair, but I couldn't lie down. In 3 days, I slept maybe 1 hour.
But Fei Fin has other reasons to feel sad about her marriage. She dreads leaving her family.
My mom is very old, and someday she will die. If my mother dies, nobody will take care of me. I want to stay with my family, but I don't think that they can take care of me for my whole life.
It is really sad for the man and woman. Whenever the boy's parents engage you, that's when you start worrying that soon you will have to belong to this other family. She cannot tell whether the boy is going to be kind or mean. She doesn't know. That was probably what Fei Fin was facing that morning.
Traditionally, Mien marriages are arranged by the parents.
She cannot change her mind later. There's no divorce for Mien woman. So it's sort of sad, and she cries a lot, thinking she's going to miss her family, and she has to say goodbye to them.
Marriage is important not only for the bride and groom, but for their families as well. Marriage is an economic contract, and it produces children that add to the strength of the King group. Mien men are equally bound by the decisions of their parents, a tradition that can be frustrating to young immigrants. Ai Choi consoled himself for the grief of leaving his homeland by thoughts of the new freedom he would have in the United States. On his arrival, he was shocked to discover he was engaged to marry Pham Yun, a bride chosen for him by his parents.
When I got to the airport, a friend of mine told me that my parents had engaged a girl for me. I did not believe, and I was not very happy, you know.
Our country people say everybody's short, right? It's not that tall. When I see him, he's really tall. I feel really strange. I said, I don't want to marry him. You know, I just kind of get so mad. I said, oh, you just want to sell me and try to make some money, didn't you, Father? My father said, no, I want you to get a good husband. That guy's really smart, you know. He had a good education. You should marry him.
I was expecting somebody more mature, you know. But when I first met her, and she was, you know, just like a kid to me. For me, I would like somebody more well-educated people who can go to parties and, you know, go meet with friends, so I don't have to be ashamed.
He finally let them engage me, and I was really sad, you know. I tell everybody I don't want to get married. I wish someplace I can run away.
I don't want to disappoint my parents. For my parents' happiness, I went ahead and get married.
Because of the economic importance of marriage and the necessity of producing children to continue a king group, young people in many societies have little say about whom they will marry. In other cultures, marriage customs acknowledge the social obligations the union implies while allowing the marriage partner some freedom in choosing a spouse.
القضية الموسم هي ولكن تلاقي القضية أنه ولات تفهم المدن المعنى اسم الموسم عقد الخطوبة. دا سكن المعاني يظنين على أرض تنين دنزان تثمين هي الموسم. هات المرتي القسم أي مغربي يفهم مسنور في من هي المرتي القسم الأستاذ طرح السؤال مشيت خينا على أنه تلاقي المنطقة المغربية يسمى سنة تثمين.
The Berber of Morocco are traditionally pastoralists. At Imachil, women find a husband by displaying themselves at a bride market. When a man and woman's eyes meet, if she is interested, she drops her veil. A man signals his interest by taking a woman's hand. If she is not interested, she pulls her hand away. The marriage may take place on the same day. Although physical attraction is the first indication of interest, participants in the bride market are well aware that marriage involves more than sexuality.
قبل تربات ماذا تجان من بعد
هذا قبل لازم الدنيا يزن حولي يزن المهم ما تخشي تفعل الناس سكوار يزن ألفول كورنيتي تمون النيت أدوين تربات النادون صغرى يسلي
The reluctance of women to assume the responsibilities of married life is reflected in the practice of bride capture, still enacted in ritual form in many parts of the world. Here, a young woman in a village of Nepal expresses ambivalence toward her groom, even though she has chosen him herself. She alternately fights and allows herself to be led to his father's house. The marriage is formalized by knocking the heads of bride and groom together. The importance of the new alliance for village life is symbolized in the gifts presented to the newly married couple. Family members and others present scarves to honor and bless the union. People give in order and amounts that reflect their kinship relation to the bride and groom, as well as the giver's status within the village. In all parts of the world, including North America, family members are intensely interested in whom their children will marry. And although North Americans emphasize romance and avoid talking about the economics of marriage, traditional wedding customs reflect the same issues expressed more directly in some other cultures. The bride walks down the aisle on her father's arm. He removes her hand from his arm and places it on the arm of the groom. This reflects the patrilineal bias of the North American kinship and symbolizes transferring the bride's labor and fertility from her father's kin group to that of the husband. The bride wears white, in this culture a symbol of virginity. Virginity is important in a patrilineal system because it helps to ensure that a woman's children will be her husband's biological children as well. The bride's family pays for the wedding, a form of dowry. In a dowry system, the bride receives her share of her family's wealth at the time of her wedding. Weddings may look very different in various parts of the world, but marriage everywhere has the same basic characteristics. It establishes a social and economic contract. It assigns sexual rights. It defines the social identity of children, and it sets up an alliance between kin groups. Make the world go round. It's marriage that makes the social world possible.